So now that we have looked at the personalization features, let's look at the flow control features. So here there are a few things here, and these will actually I will say that the number of fields that you collect, the pieces of information you collect, and whether or not you make it mandatory will make more people more likely to interact with you or not. So for example, here what I've done is I selected the field and then I said add email address, and I say if you need a reply in the parentheses. Notice that I also don't make this as a mandatory field. Now if I were to make it, let's just say if I made it mandatory, then what happens is that okay, clicked out of it by mistake. So what happens then is that it will actually mark it as a required field. Okay, so which I don't want, so let me remove that and save it. The point I'm making here is that it's how many fields you have here before the user starts the conversation will sort of decide how many people will engage with your bot, and you don't want to ask them too many questions. I know that there are some people who prefer to get all the pieces of information. My experience is that that's not a good idea, because you would rather have interaction with your website visitors even if they don't give all the information, rather than try to collect every piece of information, only to notice that many of them just stay away and not even actually talk with the chat widget. So that's one thing. And as far as the how you would like to collect details during the conversation, you can see that this sort of changes the style. I prefer the one which is traditional. There is also the conversational style, and if I were to do that, you can see that it asks the information as if it was like a chat, part of the chat conversation. I go with the traditional style because I think that it's just much simpler and something that people are more used to. Then as far as the visitor waiting time, this is how long it takes before the when they start typing a message. You will start getting a notification inside the admin panel of your SalesIQ, and it will take this many seconds before the bot says that the operator is not available. So that's what this indicates. And again, this is a setting that is, you have to change it to your convenience. I put it at the minimum because I know that I'm using this only as a chat bot and not really a live chat. And then you can see that there are the departments which are responsible for chats. So you select the departments, and of course you have to use the resources of the associated departments. Reopen chat is a setting which will allow the visitors to reopen closed conversations from their chat window if they want. Okay, and then chat notification settings are where you can allow the operator to ignore the chat request, or you automatically assign it if you don't want them to ignore it. There is also the chat waiting queue, where you can have more people queue up and wait for the operator if you have like a lot of visitors and not a lot of operators. And then by the way, these are all things which I have not really explored because I'm a one-person company, and I've not had a chance to have like multiple operators operating the chat widget. And then show question in accepting window is where it shows a preview of the question from the visitor before the operator actually accepts the chat. And then this is the waiting message, operators engaged message, operators busy. You can change all these things as you want. So there's a lot of settings here for doing these things. Of course, you want to enable operator ratings to get feedback from whoever is chatting. And you have these options: sad, neutral, happy, enable feedback, where as soon as they do the rating, it will also add a text box to allow them to submit a few words as to why they gave that particular feedback. So these are all possibilities when it comes to the flow controls. These are all the fields that you add and stuff. And abuse management is a feature where Zoho tries to automatically identify when the customer is saying something abusive, and it tries to moderate and block that content. And I think that it turns it into something which looks like the password, where you don't see the actual words. I have not had a reason to use it till now, but I just want to point out that there is such a thing as abuse management, which you can use if you, I guess, don't want when people get too angry, you don't want them to like abuse your operators. So these are the options that you have in terms of flow controls in the chat widget for your answer bot.